you're crying, he said, still inside me. Is it the promotion? I didn't answer. Just stared at the ceiling tile above his shoulder, the one stained yellow like someone had tried to scrub gilt out of plaster. He didn't wait. Slid off, zipped up, and reached for his smartwatch like a reflex. Back to business, Maya. The cold from the hotel room air finally touched my skin. That helped. So did the silence after the door clicked shut behind him. I stared at the pillow he'd used, creased, hollow in the middle, like his apology that morning. You know how hard these budget cycles are. I'd built his budget. I'd optimized it, stitched it together from the scraps they called legacy code until the damn thing ran smoother than his Tesla. 6 years, 43 deployed modules, 3 nightmarish pivots, and 1 personal NDA I never signed because he said it was just a formality. And today, when I asked for a raise, he laughed. Literally laughed, doing up his fly. Come on, Maya, you're essential. We all know that. But raises? That's a conversation for, well, bigger picture thinkers. He left lipstick on my cheek when he said it. His, wife's, someone's. I didn't wipe it off. Instead, I opened the minibar and took the 1 bottle I swore I wouldn't touch again. The code was still mine. The architecture, the skeleton they paraded at every damn investor showcase, was born from the 3 sleepless weeks I spent living off granola bars and whiteboard markers in a rented basement apartment that smelled like mildew and startup dreams. They didn't own that, but someone else might want to. Especially the company across the street. Especially since I still had the original dev environment. And the patent? Well, that's where it gets interesting. The patent sat in a dusty folder on a hard drive labeled old crap/don't delete seriously. I almost didn't open it. Like it might have disintegrated if I touched it wrong, like some relic from a version of me that still believed in late nights and shared credit and tech bros who said things like we're a family here. But there it was. US, patent no, 10-something, filed by M. Desai, method for dynamic predictive load distribution in asynchronous modular environments. Their holy grail, my Frankenstein, and the signature, not from the company, not from the CTO, just mine. Because I filed it as an individual after a backend summit in 2019 where their senior architect passed out drunk in a beanbag chair and said, nobody's gonna bother filing anything until Q3. Legal's a graveyard. I remember nodding, smiling, then going home and spending my entire Sunday on the USPTO website while his hangover turned into a team-wide Slack rant about toxic sprint velocities. They never even noticed. I sat on that secret for years. Not to be strategic, just forgotten. Life got in the way. Burnout. Gaslighting in quarterly reviews. A brief, stupid almost engagement to a DevSecOps guy who once asked me if I needed help understanding TLS certificates. I had written half the encryption module. And now, that signature was a guillotine, humming softly under their neck. The question wasn't if I'd use it, it was how. I spent the next 4 days quietly rebuilding the prototype in a private container on a borrowed AWS account, under a name that wouldn't flag their snitchware security software. I used a VPN, routed through Iceland, and renamed my laptop's hostname to HP DeskJet. Every time I got a Slack ping from the CTO with a thumbs-up emoji, or some forwarded article titled Top Women in Tech Who Know Their Place, my fingers moved faster. By Thursday, I had a working MVP. By Friday, I had a meeting with Artemis Systems. And by Monday, I wasn't Maya Desai, Senior Integration Specialist anymore. I was Maya Desai, Primary Patent Holder and Sole Licenser. And Artemis, they were very, very interested. Artemis Systems didn't blink. Their VP of Engineering, a woman named Lena with ice blonde hair and zero time for small talk, scanned the patent number, raised one eyebrow, and said, "This is real." I slid the flash drive across the glass table like it was radioactive. "Not just real," I said, "still deployed. 6 years. They built their entire cloud orchestration stack on it." Lena didn't look impressed. She looked interested. "Original filing? Mine. Proof of authorship? Time-stamped source code, DevOps logs, and the original Git commit chain." She leaned back, tapped a stylus against her lips. "You know this is going to start a war. They already started it," I said. "They just laughed too hard to hear the first shot." She smirked. How poetic. 10 minutes later, we were signing NDAs that could have suffocated a moose. By hour 2, I had a licensing deal proposal in my inbox. and by hour 4, the legal team had already flagged 12 instances of copyright violation in the public documentation of my former company's dev blog. But that wasn't the fun part. The fun part came that evening when I quietly uploaded version 2.1 of the engine, cleaned, optimized, with 3 new features Artemis had been dying to crack for 2 fiscal years. No open source, no attribution, fully proprietary, fully mine. And there's now, too. Sent a formal licensing notice to my ex-company the next morning. Subject line: licensing violation and IP infringement review action required the CTO probably didn't even open it until his oat milk cortado was lukewarm. But when he did, oh, I bet he spit it across the entire product team. Because attached to that email, in high-res PDF form, was a cover letter signed by me, Maya Desai, patent holder. And below that, Artemis's warning: you are currently operating production software in breach of intellectual property rights. Please respond within 48 hours to negotiate licensing terms. Failure to comply will result in legal action and platform-wide takedown notices. I didn't hear the scream, but I felt it. In the next hour, my old Slack login was revoked, my calendar wiped, my work email locked, but my phone lit up like a Christmas tree strapped to a meltdown. WTF is this? Call me. Now, Maya, we need to talk. Did you send this? Please tell me you didn't send this. I know you're upset. Let's be rational. And finally, from him, the CTO, you vindictive little brat. You have no idea what you've done. Oh, but I did. I had finally written my resignation letter in legalese. They called it a misunderstanding. Email from their lawyer opened with, "We believe there has been some confusion regarding the ownership of this codebase." Confusion? Is that what we're calling 6 years of unpaid overtime and gaslit performance reviews now? I didn't reply. Artemis did, with a response that included a 14-page appendix of API call logs, Jenkins pipeline histories, and a forensic timeline showing exactly when my code went live, who tried to slap their name on it 6 weeks later. Then Artemis's legal VP dropped the hammer. Your CTO's LinkedIn bio references his dynamic load balancer. Maya Desai is the sole inventor. Kindly clarify how a man with no recorded contributions to the project is claiming authorship of a patented process. Silence. And then, noise. Beautiful, chaotic, desperate noise. One of their senior engineers leaked an internal memo to me through Proton Mail. It was supposed to be confidential, but the subject line was a gift. Crisis Protocol Desai Fallout highlights included: deactivate all blog posts referencing Engine Core V1 as in-house IP. Purge Slack messages from 2019-2020 involving code attribution discussions. Cancel CTO's panel appearance at DevCon, too risky. Legal exploring emergency countersuit, but confidence is low. She has receipts. That last line? Yeah, I printed it, framed it, hung it above my coffee maker. And that's when the real game began. A recruiter I barely remembered messaging back in 2021 suddenly reached out. Hey Maya, hope you're doing well. We have an urgent principal engineer opening, followed by 3 VC firms asking if I was interested in launching a spinout, followed by an anonymous tip sent to 3 tech blogs about the IP battle brewing inside one of Silicon Valley's most overvalued startups. Guess who leaked it? Here's a hint. She drinks espresso like it's war fuel and signs her emails L. Worth, VP Artemis. 2 days later, Tech Shovel ran the headline. Startup darling accused of IP theft by former female engineer. Is it time to rewrite the narrative? The side-by-side of me in a hoodie holding a whiteboard marker, and the CTO giving a keynote in front of my diagram. My arrows, my shorthand, even my damn typo, balancer misspelled blancer. They say revenge is a dish best served cold. I prefer it piping hot, poured over a quarterly earnings call, which, incidentally, was happening the following Monday. And I had just gotten access to something very, very fun, their internal metrics dashboard. Let's just say retention rates weren't the only thing about to drop. Monday, 8:59 a.m. I had 3 monitors glowing like a war room, 2 espresso shots lined up like bullets, and my cat sitting smugly beside me like he knew what was coming. Their Q2 earnings call started at 9 sharp. Live streamed. Public. open to stakeholders, journalists, and most deliciously, former employees with axes to grind. The CEO's voice came through first, forced cheerful, thick with corporate Vaseline. Good morning, everyone. We're excited to share another quarter of innovation and strategic growth. I muted it. I wasn't here for that. I was watching the dashboard. Because over the weekend, one of my former juniors, someone they'd laid off during their culture restructuring, had quietly handed me access to the system they still hadn't air-gapped. I had root-level privileges on their dev telemetry server. I didn't need to touch a thing. I just watched. Because Artemis had flipped the switch that morning. My engine, version 2.1, was now live on their rival's infrastructure. Full rollout, same architecture, better performance, no licensing violations, and my ex-company, they were now broadcasting a live stream while their backend started buckling in real time. API latency doubled, then tripled. Login errors surged. Their analytics dashboard, the one I built, spiked with red. The CTO's voice finally came through the live stream. Tense. Rushed. We're seeing temporary issues due to unexpected load. Our teams are addressing, and then it hit. One of their clients, a huge one, a Fortune 100 beast, had switched platforms. Overnight, to Artemis, to my engine, and the kicker, that client sent a tweet at 9:14 a.m. Excited to be working with that Artemis Systems. Lower latency, better security, smoother integration. Cheers to clean code. Winking face, the tweet blew up. Fast. Developers started piling on, screenshots, benchmarks, side-by-sides. It was open season. One user posted, "Didn't this code look familiar? Pretty sure Maya Desai demoed this at ByteHack in 2019. And suddenly my LinkedIn exploded. Connection requests. Job offers. Articles tagging me as the woman who built the machine and burned the castle. But the best part, someone, bless their caffeinated soul, leaked an internal Slack thread where the CTO typed, "Who the hell authorized her patent? Why wasn't this caught? Who filed nothing?" And the response from their legal lead, just one line, "You told us not to waste time on her. Mike, fucking, drop." By 10:12 a.m., their stock had dipped 11%. By 10:48, it froze, trading halted. By noon, they were trending under #stolen code startup. And me was sitting in a cafe downtown, sipping burnt diner coffee with Lena from Artemis, watching the whole thing unravel on an iPad. She didn't say anything for a while. Just chewed a pen cap, squinting at the chaos. Then she looked at me and said, "You know, they're gonna come for you." I smiled. They already did. And now, it was my turn. They tried to play victim. By Tuesday, the CEO was on damage control, sweating on CNBC in a blazer that didn't quite fit, saying words like miscommunication, legacy contributor, and my personal favorite. We deeply value our engineers, past and present. Meanwhile, their lawyers were sending Artemis a cease and desist like they hadn't just spent 6 years duct taping my work to their golden parachutes. Artemis's response. A neatly packaged folder delivered to their inbox, titled Compliance Receipts. Inside, a notarized copy of the original patent filing, 3 signed witness statements from former engineers confirming I wrote the engine, screenshots of Jira tickets with my name on every major breakthrough, and a recorded Zoom call, time-stamped, transcribed, where the CTO told me this isn't about credit, Maya, it's about teamwork. I sent that one in myself. They didn't respond, not publicly, not legally. But quietly, they started deleting things. Whole blog entries vanished. White paper from their 2021 DevCon talk was pulled. A podcast featuring the CTO gloating about his signature load balancer was mysteriously replaced with a 404. And then the first real crack. One of their senior devs resigned. Loudly, on LinkedIn, he wrote, "As someone who watched Maya carry this project through hell and gaslighting, I can't pretend anymore. I'm out." And just like that, the dominoes fell. 4 resignations that week. Investors started asking questions. And then the board moved. Late Thursday night, someone from the inside, probably that same overworked HR analyst who used to whisper "I'm so sorry" to me after every failed promotion, sent me the one screenshot I had fantasized about for years. An email thread. Subject. Immediate termination, CTO reason. Gross negligence, reputational damage, failure to disclose patent conflicts. It was done. He was out. Read it 5 times. And for the first time in 6 years, I exhaled without shaking. But I wasn't finished, because karma's cute, but design is divine. So I printed the email, rolled it up, slipped it into a gift box. And the next morning, I stood outside his now former office building with a courier envelope addressed to his name. Inside, the termination thread. A printed screenshot of his were a family here Slack message, and a single USB drive, labeled, "Sharpie, you should have given me the raise." I watched the receptionist buzz him out from behind glass. He looked older already, jowls heavy, eyes scanning the lobby like a man who knew he'd just watched the throne burn down, brick by brick, line by line, function by stolen function. He opened the envelope, read it, paused, and then he saw me, just standing there, arms crossed, no smile, no rage, just done. He mouthed something. I couldn't hear it through but I didn't need to, because some endings don't need sound. They just need a witness. The lawsuit came 3 days later, messy, desperate, performative. Their new interim CTO signed off on a 47-page complaint claiming I had violated proprietary agreements and sabotaged systems with intent to damage. Cute. They even tried to paint me as a rogue developer who coerced junior staff into leaking trade secrets, as if I'd hypnotized half their workforce with some kind of girl boss mind control spell. Artemis's legal team dismantled it like Jenga played on a fault line. First response: Defendant Desai was never under contract for IP transfer. Patent predates all active employment clauses. Please review your own HR files. Second response: If you wish to pursue this, will require full code audit logs, source control history, records of all internal communications regarding the patent. Discovery will be extensive. Please confirm your willingness to proceed. Spoiler, they didn't. By Friday, the suit was quietly dropped. No press release, no public statement. Just a little edit to their website footer, one line removed, powered by our proprietary load balancer technology. Now it just said, built for scale. Cowards. But what came next? That was better than revenge. Was rewriting the future. Artemis went all in. We launched properly this time. A clean build, scalable, secure. Faster than anything on the market. My name on the patent, on the product, on the fucking homepage. And you know what surprised me most? People wanted to work for me, not tolerate me, not talk over me, not smile while stealing my slides. Actually work, collaborate, ask questions, credit ideas. One night, 2 interns pulled me aside after a long sprint. One of them said, "We read what happened with the old company. The blog post and the leak." I tensed, thought it was about to be some apology for young male behavior speech. But the other one added, "You're why we applied here. You proved they can't just take from us." I didn't cry. Not there. But later, in the dark, I stared at that old HP DeskJet laptop I'd used to rebuild everything battered, covered in tea stains and scratch stickers. And I thought that machine started the fire. But I lit the match, and the world finally noticed. But one last thing still bothered me, because I hadn't heard the CTO's voice in weeks. Not since the envelope, not since the Glassdoor stare down. Until a week later when an email landed in my inbox. No subject, no greeting, just one sentence. "You really think this is over?" I stared at it and smiled. Not yet. Made one last move. Of course he did. Men like him don't disappear, they mold. Into consultants, advisors, strategic visionaries. Turns out, he'd been whispering into the ear of a mid-tier VC firm itching to disrupt Artemis's rise. They threw together a Frankenstein competitor overnight, sloppy UI, gutted backend, and a suspiciously familiar architecture. Too familiar. Their press release bragged about next-gen load distribution, claimed it was built from the ground up. Even quoted him finally, a product that doesn't rely on stolen foundations. Oh, they wanted war again. Fine. This time I didn't need backdoors or leaked memos. I had momentum and a team. While they fumbled through demos that crashed mid-click, Artemis rolled out EdgeStream, our new platform powered by version 3.0. A rewrite. A monster. Chewed benchmarks for breakfast and spat out graphs shaped like middle fingers. We gave early access to their clients. Every single one. By the end of the month, 8 of their 12 contracts had quietly migrated to us. By the end of the quarter, their VC pulled funding. Turns out, strategic visionaries don't survive without strategy or vision. I finally ran into him again. Tech gala. Open bar, too much light. Too many cameras. He approached, no drink in hand. Just that brittle smile he wore like expired cologne. "Maya," he said, like we were old friends, "you win?" I tilted my head. This wasn't a game. He glanced around, seeing the Artemis logo everywhere, on banners, on lanyards, on stage. I made a mistake, he muttered, back then. I should have taken you seriously. I sipped my drink. You didn't make a mistake. He frowned. You made a decision. And so did I. He didn't have a reply for that, but someone behind me did. One of our new engineers, a kid fresh out of grad school, watching the exchange with wide eyes. He said, loud enough to draw looks, "Hey Maya, is that the guy who laughed at your raise request?" A few people turned. The CTO, former CTO, flinched, then walked off, alone. I didn't follow. I had a keynote to deliver. 10 minutes later, I stood on stage in front of 2,000 people and told the story not of revenge, not even of victory, but of reclamation, of building something undeniably yours and watching the world scramble to catch up. Afterward, someone asked me what I'd say to women in tech who feel invisible. I smiled and said, file the patent, then light the match.